What's up guys, my name's Hugh Miller and Her Interactive dropped a brand new character reveal today. Today they revealed Oskar in this brand new video, 28 seconds long, so we're going to watch it real quick and then break it down frame by frame. Here we go.
Who's calling? This is an American number. That is in the past.
I, for one, really enjoyed that video. I thought it was great and it showed off some more awesome character animation. It's funny, the translation from character concept art to character animation, he looks probably the most different in the end, in my opinion. But either way, I still think he looks good. First off, we've got a shot of an interior of, I guess, a museum. I'm assuming this is the museum. There's like a display case here, a couple windows over there, and then a staircase going up to a small balcony and then up to another room. I'm hoping we get to go up there. That'd be awesome if we can. And then we zoom in, or we start the video and we fade in, sorry, with the opening graphics of the video as per usual. We keep on going, and we now have a stationary graphic of a phone, I don't know, superimposed onto a wood table or something, who was calling, and we have Oskar there, incoming call. So all this is all Photoshopped. Another thing I want to mention really quickly is that all the dialogue lines from Oskar in this video, they are the exact same dialogue lines from the last video with the Morse code, and there's nothing else really new here. And the music in this video is from Treasure in the Royal Tower, and you'll see why that's important in just a second here. But obviously that game takes place in the castle. Keep that in mind. So as we go along here, we zoom in and then we zoom out into Meet Oskar, and we have a rather flourished font typeface here for Meet. So I'm guessing this will have to do with kind of the location that he's in and his status, kind of, you know, a bit more high-end or something. And there he is. He looks pretty good. He looks a bit like, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, or even his first name. I think it's like Rafe or Ralph Fiennes, whatever. He played Voldemort, though. So not Voldemort, but like the guy who plays him. I think he looks a bit like him, that they might have based his character off of him or something visually. But he looks good. Businessman, obviously, and high stature. He's got, yeah, he's holding something. I'm not sure what. I assume it's his case of files or whatever. The background here as well is the location we'll see in just a quick second here, and this yeah, we'll see in just a second here. Before we go too far though, Nate Drew fan S Vanessa 5, I think her name is, pointed out that as we go into this white fade here, we cut to see it kind of like dips a little bit, so it goes white and then goes dark and then goes back to white again and then fades out. And this is really interesting because in this little dip where it goes dark, you can see his hand right here, and back here is actually an unblurred version of the blueprints, because you'll see here that they're blurred. However, here they are not blurred. So I'm going to pull that image up and we'll take a quick look at it. So once again, shout out to Vanessa for finding this. This is the screenshot, rotated upside down, and has been altered so that you can actually see the unblurred version. So this is really interesting. So his hand is pointing at a castle of some sort here, which is really interesting. I assume this is kind of the location we're in. These look like a kind of blueprint with dimensions along the bottom here. There's a white circle, a golden star. It says Crown Jewels replicas only. Which is interesting that they're not going to have the official crown jewels. Either by this point they've already been stolen, assuming that this is about the crown jewels, like the Bohemian crown jewels. So if these are replicas only, either A, they don't want to put the real ones on show, B, they've already been stolen, or C, they never had them in the first place. Dalibor Knight, we'll talk about that in a second as well. Work in progress. I can't quite read what this says. I think some other people have managed to figure out what this says, but I can't quite see it right now. And then this one says alchemical, I don't know, alchemical. There was something with alchemy here, history. And apparently Rudolph, who, funny enough, was actually mentioned in the Her Interactive April 1st newsletter. You gotta look for it. He had to do with alchemy in Prague, I think, which is interesting. Main hall, something there, I can't quite make out what that says. I think this says kings and something. I don't know, of Prague. I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is an entire layout of an entire exhibit. That's my guess. Also says director Oskar down here, and this will become more clear as we move on with the footage. But yeah, this is all supposed to be blurred out, but it's really tough. It's tough for Her Interactive when stuff like this gets discovered, because A, we find out stuff we're not supposed to find out, and B, they might get into trouble for not being a little more careful. Not saying they weren't careful, but not being careful enough about covering this stuff up. It's tricky. It's really tricky. Either way, we're gonna move on with the footage and keep diving in. Okay, so here we are. So the footage is back upright. So you'll notice down here again, like gold stars here. It says development shots. All this stuff's been blurred out that we just looked at. The white circle down here. But if you look at this over here, it says exhibit director, which is interesting. And then it also says main hall, and I assume it says Oskar there. Castle Exhibition Hall is what that says. And it looks like this is 1 inch equals 3 feet. So basically they're giving the dimensions along the edge here. So 1 inch along the edge would equal 3 feet in real life. So that's what that would be down there for those that actually know what blueprints are. Can't quite make out what the rest of this says. His hand covers the rest of it. Series 907 or 967, 997. Item number and product number. Or product, yeah, I don't know what that is, but either way, there's a whole bunch of technical stuff there, nothing too interesting. The floor looks pretty good here. His animation, again, looks pretty good. Overall, the texturing looks alright. I think it looks pretty good. And then we'll move on, and we get a close-up of his head here and his red phone, which he's talking to somebody, even though there's actually just the generic phone screen. Not much that can be done about that. And then we've got a kind of display here, which says Castle Main Hall Exhibition. Kalina of Story Retold, she did her whole breakdown of this and zoomed in on this, and all this white along the bottom here looks to be like a kind of landscape or I don't know, skyscape, I don't know what those are called, of a castle. And these are all the points, the castle wall and all that stuff. So what's blurred on here, I'm not too sure. What's blurred over here, however, we will talk about in just a second. Going along here, I'm not sure what all these white dots are, if there's some weird seam issues with the edge of the wall. I'm not too sure. This wall texture, by the way, is the same one that was used, I assume. Probably should double check this before I actually say it. Hold on. Okay, fact checked. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same wall on the back here that is shown in the last image of the most recent Her Interactive newsletter, where they show off all the new merch. I think they were teasing this environment, which is interesting because in that image, on the very edge, there's a little bit of a pedestal or a podium or something that looks a bit like this, but it's wood, and there's some kind of frame, which again, thinking back now, could have been a display case, and this could have been the edge of the wall. Anyways, I'm guessing that this room was the background of that image. So he looks up here. His eyes are kind of moving a little bit. Yeah, he looks, in my opinion, he looks quite different. His eyes are a lot bigger than the concept art he had. He still looks good. His hand all of a sudden looks absolutely massive. I'm not sure what's going on there, but maybe he's just got a small head, who knows. Kalina also pointed out there's an audio bit here, so my guess, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but that's a violin down there. Kalina suggested this might be an audio kind of interactive ability, like you would see in The Secret of the Scarlet Hand, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, before we get into the next shot, I want to point out as well that the way that Her Interactive blurred these important pieces of information was through just an image. So they just had a blurred image they placed over top. Now, I assume that's why some extra stuff got leaked in this video, because they were images and not actually part of the video file. They didn't actually blur the video file itself. So once we get into this next shot here, with this very dramatic movement, look at this. Oh yeah, he's like, can we get an animation of some weights in his hand? He's just lifting weights here. Oh yeah, that's great. Anyways, Look at this. There is a single frame where the blurred sections carry over, then disappear, and this all of a sudden gets blurred out. So this is really interesting. There's a lot to unpack in this one shot here. So if we go back to this shot, this is blurred out too, actually. So I was curious what was going on up here, but they're blurring out just a small part of this. I'm not sure why, because that's a very little amount of detail to blur out, but they blurred it anyways. So anyways, they mention, or they show in this here, when Dalibor of, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Kozogedi, I'm not sure, found himself imprisoned in the Tower of Prague Castle. Prague Castle, here we are. This exactly lines up with the clues that we found earlier about Prague. He had, little to occupy his tune until he acquired a violin, which is what's down here. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So my guess is that this will be an interactive ability, and that this, you can, I don't know, control it to make this make noise, essentially. That's my guess. Although rumors around that, rumors abound that he made a violin out of matches. That, yeah, burn the place down, why don't you? It is likely him a violin, this exhibit daily. So we can't quite make out the lot of this text, and he moves. Yeah, his captor gifted him a violin. Similar to the one in the exhibit. So that's my guess, is that this is, yeah, just a fake one that they were trying to say this is what this might have looked like and all that stuff, right? So you can't really read a lot off this, and that's what her interactive intended, but it doesn't help that this one single frame right here has all this. And I assume that's the room that he stayed in as well. But this was a real guy, so go check him out. There's a lot of cool information there. Now, before we move on, there's also a bowl over here, which is probably just some display piece, but there's also this. This is interesting. I'm not sure what this is, but if we zoom in on it, there's weird, like, symbols all around it. I'm not sure if it's going to be, like, a puzzle box, like, in the room, or what? It kind of looks like the top might be able to spin a little bit. I don't know what this sticky outy bit is here. It's interesting, but it's in a box without any padding, so it might not be that important, but who knows. Either way, super duper interesting. I'm very curious what it actually is. And then we cut to another shot of his concept art, and then we've got another background image here, probably from the same room, but just a different angle, showing off some more exhibits. And as far as I know, we've got one shot left after this. Yeah, follow along with a new background here for more updates. So this is the blueprints that we were just standing at, which means that the camera was facing down in this direction, and we didn't really see anything back here, which is great. I'm glad they're not showing us a whole lot right now, but of course they're probably going to show off this environment later. Part of me doesn't want them to, because I want to explore it, you know, in game, but who knows? There's a whole bunch of stuff that can happen here. I'm very curious about all this, because we're going back to A, castle, and B, a museum. We haven't been to a museum since Labyrinth of Lies. Alright, technically Midnight in Salem was the last time we were in a museum, but that doesn't really count, because we didn't really see much there. Anyways, back to the video. And we haven't been to a castle, as far as I know, since the Captive Curse. So this is really interesting. Oskar seems like a really cool character. I think he's going to be someone who I'm going to enjoy talking to. He could be a really rich, snobby museum director. It's really hard to know for sure. But there's a whole bunch of stuff. What do you guys think about all this? There's a lot. There's a lot to unpack from this 28-second video, and the lovely sleuths in this community have made it even more so. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys think of all this in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day.